Alright, let's do this one last time. Happy New Year to the AER community. It feels so good to be back, and I can't think of a better kickoff to the new year other than joining into yet another collaborative playlist with fellow video essayists, this one being the last one that is being hosted by Nando V Movies, aptly named One Last Scene. As the name suggests, we creatives were welcome to share our most interesting or our favorite final scenes to our favorite media, be it games, movies, series, what have you, upon which you can share your creative expression of the same directly to Nando's Discord, Twitter, or his email, all linked down in the description below. And with that, of course, extending a huge thank you to Nando for creating such a playlist and such collaborative efforts where video essay creators both large and small like myself get perspective on how each of us tackles such thematic topics, as well as gaining a newly found appreciation for all the media we love to consume and create. Now jumping right into it, I have to say I was actually spoiled for choice, and it kinda took me a while to decide which ending I would actually talk about, given I could talk about any of the endings of the favorites of this channel, ranging from the final chat between Eric Killmonger and Prince Chala that pretty much cements Killmonger as one of the better realized and most compelling villains we have had in the MCU.
Maybe we can still heal you. Why? So you can just lock me up? No. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships. Because they knew death was better than bondage.
To the absolute symbolic beauty of the freedom from the chains, or in this case ribbons, of subservience that is captured in the ending of I Am Not a Witch, to the quite honestly well-deserved but still quite harrowing standing ovation of an ending that we get to the story of Nairobi Half-Life, in which that final performance is arguably the pièce de résistance of the entire film. However, after a long introspective deliberation, I had to go with the one ending that offers the one thing no other ending offers: an 80-year-old woman stripping butt naked. After all, it's not every day you're treated to an octogenarian striptease, not especially in an African movie. This is not a burial, it is a resurrection is a film I don't think I'll ever be short of praise for. I have talked about this film's gorgeous cinematography before in another video, and much like in the style of Thomas Flight's In Praise of Subtle Acting, I had planned to talk about this film's actors' subtle performances. One thing about this film though that I still hadn't figured a way to tackle yet was its thematic value. Well, not until this video series had started and then the idea clicked. There are fewer ways to talk about a film's thematic relevance without spoiling its end. And so this is your spoiler warning for this video, as the only way we can truly discuss how this film ties in its themes, and the only way it actually qualifies for this playlist, is by talking about its brilliant ending. So there's your spoiler warning. Whilst most other movies keep you guessing or give you a hard time in actually identifying what their core themes are, this movie wears its themes on its sleeve. I mean, it's right there in the title. This is not a burial, it's a resurrection. This is a story about life and death, and its thematic question is, what truly keeps us alive? And the film's writer-director actually picks the perfect vessel to actually be the protagonist to drive this story. Mantoa, our 80-year-old protagonist, perfectly portrayed by the late and great Mary Twala, is the epitome for the term bereft. If one were to open a dictionary to search the term pain, loss, suffering, a picture of Mantoa would perfectly describe all these. We open this film with the arrival of the devastating news that the last ounce of happiness that this woman had in this life was actually gone, having lost both her parents, the love of her life in her husband, her daughter, her granddaughter, and now the only family she had left, her son, she remains well and truly alone in this world, and this absolutely breaks her. And throughout this film's runtime, the losses keep on piling on. She loses her property by way of her house and her belongings therein being consumed by a blazing inferno. She even loses the chance at her idyllic peaceful death as the resident village undertaker, the one that she trusted would break ground on her grave and bury her as he had done for her loved ones before her, passes away before she does. Heck, she even damn nearly loses her own mind. And by this point watching through this film, you in the audience get a full understanding of themes of loss and death being tackled by this movie. You can see it, feel it, experience it as it even creeps into the lives of the other supporting characters in this film. And one can view this character as one who has nothing left to lose. And that might have very well remained the case until the threat of the loss of their very land came to be. This very loss would be the most damning of them all. A loss of their land is a loss of their identity, a loss of their culture, a loss of their very own place of birth, the place where their loved ones have been laid to rest, a place of their past, a place of their present, and a place of their future. From the perspective of the protagonist of this film, Mantoa, this loss would be the heaviest, depriving her not only of the little time she has left to be alive close to her family, but also depriving her of the same in her death. This would be a complete loss of her very own identity.
Monaka, upatesu mona. Bana baka, desetolo saka. Ba patesu mona. Mme wa ka le ntate wa ka le bona ba patetse mona. Le bo mme le bo ntate ba bona. Ha o fela ba patetse mona. Le nna ke lakatsa gore ke patele pela batsadi ba ka.
And I feel I should take a pause here to speak of the very reality of this situation. Historically, and running all the way through time to the very present, such relocations are very real. Whether they are being effected by acts of man such as we have seen with the very recent wars that have relocated people from their very own homes, or has been effected by acts of God such as the flooding that has been experienced by my fellow countrymen in the past year. The losses of lives, land, and identity are all too real and all too relatable. I speak to all of this as an appreciation to all the passion and care a filmmaking team has to take in order to portray such themes in such a respectable fashion as is done in this movie, and how that ties to the core thematic question of this film: what truly keeps us alive? The answer being, whatever switches us from a state of having nothing left to lose to a state where we have everything to lose. For our protagonist Mantoa, that was the loss of herself, the loss of her identity through the loss of her land, and for everything that very loss encompasses. Thus, it is here at the very end where the core themes are fully realized. Before, we had only half covered this theme as we were talking about the loss and the death that comes with it. However, this theme cannot be fully discussed without looking at the flip side. You cannot talk about death without talking about birth or resurrection, the willingness to continue living. This final scene of our 80-year-old protagonist, completely bare and nude, slowly approaching the people evicting her from her very own land with her hands in the air as if in surrender, as they threaten her to dare not come any closer, is the biggest act of defiance against the loss and death of her identity across these 100+ minutes of film. This single scene with the act of rebellion against the themes of death in the titular "This is not a burial" single-handedly counters and balances the entire rest of the film's runtime by introducing the themes of rebirth in the titular "It's a Resurrection." This final scene is burdened with the weight of fully realizing the themes of this movie, with the final few frames choosing to focus on the young Kemoria Lang's face, whose facial expression, coupled with the narrator's input, reflect a rebirth of the protagonist's fighting spirit, whilst allowing the fate of our protagonist and her encounter with their victors to remain ambiguous. As a writer and aspiring filmmaker, I find this scene so powerful, and I feel that most films benefit from doing the same. I truly hope you have enjoyed this discussion. If you are an aspiring artist of any kind, director, writer, actor, this film is one I feel you should watch, as I feel it does offer a lot to learn from. This is actually only my second scene discussion, the first one being the one marvelous scene. However, if you would like to see more of these, do let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you, Nando, for always hosting these. They have been absolutely fun to make and to tackle these topics. I will actually be covering some of the ones that I didn't do whilst they were active, even though those playlists are already kinda closed. Anyway, it has been your soon-to-be favorite Uncle Omari, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one.